cases of COVID-19 in the country. These and more on Panorama today, reaching you live from Abuja. I'm Elizabeth Omori. We'll be right back. Suspected armed bandits have kidnapped some students at Government Girls Secondary School, Jangibe in Talata Mafra, local government area of Zamfara State. Zamfara State Commissioner of Information, Sulaiman Tunau Anka, who confirmed the unfortunate incident, said the gunmen stormed the school around 1 a.m. today and abducted the students. He, however, says the actual number of the abducted students is yet to be ascertained. Joining me now in the studio to discuss the issue before us is a public analyst, Jide Ojo. Mr. Jide, it's nice to have you in our studio.
The pleasure is mine.
All right, it's quite unfortunate that we are still grappling with the challenge confronting us with Kagara abduction. What is your take on this present situation?
My heart bleeds for this country. Okay. And I really do not envy the president, because much as the president and his lieutenants wants Nigeria to believe that they have done better with security in the last 5 years, most things are pointing to the fact that the security situation is getting worse. It's very unfortunate that we are still dealing with Kagara. We have not gotten out of it. The 42 people that were arrested, that were abducted last week, are still in the kidnappers' den. Now we have some media are speculating about 300 or whatever. But even if it's 10, even if it's 5, the bottom line is that these are someone's children. And we are talking of reducing out-of-school children. With what is happening now, definitely many parents will want to withdraw their children from school, saying that if it's not possible for their children to be in school with peace, then they would rather have them being at home. So I pray that the government of Zamfara State and then the federal government will be able to resolve this in an expeditious manner. This is one abduction too many, and it doesn't portray the image of the country in any good light, because we are talking of safe school initiatives that have been on for 6 years now. Okay. But obviously the schools are no longer safe. Okay, I'd like to quote you there because I understand that our correspondent at the venue is actually on ground right now. Haruna, can you hear me loudly?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Thank you so much for your time. Now, can you tell us what have you gathered concerning the incident?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm right now at the Government Girls Science Secondary School, Jangibe, in Talata Mafara, local government area of Zamfara State. The incident, according to eyewitness, happened at exactly around 1 o'clock in the evening yesterday. And from the reports we've received from the school authorities, a total number of 317 students were abducted.
Okay.
Out of the total number of about 515 students that are in the school.
Okay. Well, it's quite unfortunate that I would like to ask you this. What is the mood around there? How are parents and teachers feeling right now?
Actually, parents, guardians, and other members of the community are in this sorrow. They are seriously disturbed, and the situation is really pathetic. Yes. A lot of parents have came early and have taken some of the students who are not affected by the incident.
Okay. Aruna, are you in contact with any family member of the abducted students?
Yes, we've spoken with our two parents. One from Anka local government area, the local government nearby, who 3 students were abducted in the incident.
Okay.
And the other one was a student who was also abducted. them that not actually prevented this incident. So the state government should review the situation.
All right, we understand that the abduction took place around 1 a.m. today, but really, are there eyewitness accounts?
Pardon?
I said we understand that the abduction took place around 1 a.m. today. Are there eyewitness accounts?
Yeah, we met one of the students of the school who happened to hide inside the toilet and therefore escaped the abduction.
Okay.
According to her, the abductors came to the school and they forced their way through the main gate of the school. They went straight to the hostel, knocked, and were asking the students to come out for night prayers, dawn prayers. And after they had came out, they started, pursuing them outside. Right?
Okay. Now, before the abduction, how was the level of security? Can you hear me, Aruna?
Pardon? Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Now, before the abduction, what was the level of security like in the school?
Before the abduction, according to an eyewitness,
Okay.
there was a civil security personnel at the main gate
Okay.
and some security officers also around the hostel. But when they discovered that the abductors were already in the school, they ran away.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. All right, we understand that our state government delegation came around. So what feedback do we have from them?
Yes, the State Commissioner of Education, the person of Dr. Ibrahim Abdullahi, was at the spot of the incident in company of the State Commissioner of Police, Abuja.
Okay.
Particularly the State Commissioner of Police said the operators of the operation in Hadar and Daji have identified the direction which the abductors are taking and they are in pursuit of the bandits.
Okay.
He assured that the security are doing everything possible to ensure the abductees are released without any harm or injury.
Okay. All right, Aruna, thank you so much for your time. We hope to get more updates from you for other bulletins. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, I still have Jide Ojo with me in the studio. Mr. Jide, you heard him. What's your take?
Like I said earlier on, it's a very heartbreaking situation we have on our hands. I mean, the international community will be worried, Steve, about education in Nigeria.
Okay.
Many international communities, international non-governmental organizations have been supporting this Nigerian government to ensure safe school, to ensure that, we have girl child education, to ensure that we have quality education in Nigeria. I cannot quantify the amount of money, resources, manpower, training that the international community has, invested in Nigeria to ensure that we do not have situations like this. And just on Tuesday, I wrote a column for This Day newspaper where I examined the root causes of some of these issues. First and foremost is we have endemic poverty, unemployment, so people have come to take issue of kidnapping as the only pot that they can use to ease their wealth.
Okay, now that brings me to my next question. The state government has been receiving some repentant bandits. What message are they trying to pass?
Again, just 72 hours ago, 96 hours ago, the governor of Zamfara was on one of the TV stations and he was saying, look, we have to give these people amnesty. When we started this amnesty program, about 1,000 bandits have repented and, they are achieving a lot by that. But these have poo-poo has punctured that argument that amnesty alone will not do the magic. Now, you give amnesty to people And yet you have this mass abduction. But the question I want to ask my sister is, where were the security operatives when all of this was happening? Your correspondent said 317 girls from 1 a.m. or about 1 a.m. when these bandits came into the school. Are there no security posts in anywhere close?
Mounted anywhere.
Mounted
And
anywhere.
It's a girls' secondary
School. For goodness sake. I said in that article I'm referring to, which was in this day of this week, Tuesday, I said there are a number of things we need to do to keep our schools safe. Look at the state of infrastructure in Kagara, the very dilapidating nature of that school. That is not even fit for pigs to live in. That's where we are harboring having a boarding school. And we don't know the state of infrastructure in this Talata Marafa, Jangebe, or what's the name of this new. And now we are talking of girls. This will be a setback for girl child education in northern Nigeria. Already that was a phenomenon that international community has supported federal government, state government to try to overcome, encourage people to go to school. You know, with this school feeding program, it was to get students to enroll and go back to school. But with this severe, several abduction, Kagara, Kankara, now Talata Marafa, how will the northern parents of children in northern Nigeria want to send their wards to school? It shows the amnesty is not working. It shows that the schools, the federal, state, and local government needs to up their ante to ensure proper security around school environment, perimeter fence, scanners, and all the CCTV. If otherwise, we should just close down all boarding schools.
Okay, now, so how does this rub off on our security architecture?
Negatively. Negatively. And I do not envy the new service chiefs. And I'm one of those who are in support of the ouster of the former service chiefs. But I also noted at that point in time that this will just be a step. There are several other things that needed to be done, because if you change the service chiefs even every week, it will solve the security problem. Like Tuko Buratai, the immediate past chief of army staff, said, there is the need for hardware and the software approach to solving this conundrum. One, we need to deal with the issue of poverty and unemployment. In Nigeria, particularly in northern Nigeria, quite a number of these youths have no means of livelihood. They see the elites in their communities living a life of affluence. And unfortunately, my sister, it is the children of the poor, the vulnerable, that goes to this kind of public schools. The children of the elites are untouchable because they are not even schooling in Nigeria. So how do we encourage parents to go to school? What is the state of security architecture around our schools, around our communities, around our state? These are the big questions that needed to be answered. But while we do all of this, I think government needs to redouble its effort to ensure that we deal with issue of poverty and unemployment. These are primary root causes of some of these issues around banditry and the insecurity that we have seen. Look at what's happening in Borno, where Maiduguri. I was in Maiduguri last month, and I wrote my experience in my column in The Punch, and I was like, okay, I went to Maiduguri. I couldn't tell people because of the fear that people will have about my safety if I go to Maiduguri. Look at what just happened in Maiduguri early this week, where bandit insurgents were launching rocket-propelled grenades into the Maiduguri town.
Yes.
So it shows that nowhere in Nigeria is safe. And Sultan of Sokoto have said this much in some of his recent interventions, that Nigerian government at all levels need to redouble efforts to bring the situation under control. This abduction in Zamfara shows that our government is not on top of insecurity in Nigeria. And something drastic needs to, if we need to seek international support or help, we need to do it. We need to explore every opportunity. It's a setback for the Safe School Initiative program of the federal government. It's a setback for the, getting out of school children to go back to school. It's a setback for girl child education. It's a setback for the educational sector of the country. And at large, it's a setback for the country in its 61st independence anniversary, we are having a state that has failed its youth population. Because how do you convince people to go to school? Now, people struggle to go through this very harrowing experience. They will graduate and there will be no job for them. How do you convince them that education is power? Education is knowledge. How do you, I read a book, Elizabeth Price, Education Without Tears, in my youth. I don't think if Elizabeth Price has Nigeria in mind, he will have written Education with Tears.
Okay, now quickly, what's the way forward? Quickly.
We need to have this hardware and the software approach. Like I've said, we need to deal with the issue of poverty and unemployment. Primarily, 2, improve infrastructure so people can engage in self-employment, reduce the cost of doing business. But on the hardware side, we need more, recruit more military, recruit more soldiers, recruit more police, build more infrastructures for security to enhance security architecture, not only around our schools, but around communities. The reason why this is happening time and again is ungoverned space. There is a sort of large ungoverned spaces around this country that there is no government presence anywhere, and that is what we need to do. Improve infrastructures around all the communities. The fact that somebody is in a rural environment should not shut him out of dividends of democracy. They need good roads, they need water, they need light. They need things that will make them to even be self-employed, so that while they don't want to come to urban centers, they can earn a living, a decent living, wherever they are. Then we need to rethink the security around our schools. I've said that schools need perimeter fence. They need to hire, even if it means to get alumni of schools to support hiring of security men to provide additional security for schools. We need CCTV around boarding schools so that at least somewhere somebody
even
can monitor around schools. So we need to improve the hardware of security hardware around our schools, particularly boarding schools, where people live in the night. So all of these combined, it's a tough order, it's a Herculean task, but government cannot fight shy of doing the needful to secure our schools, whether public or private.
We are very optimistic that we will overcome.
Amen. I say amen to that.
I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
It's a pleasure.
Ojo, public analyst. You're watching Panorama, reaching you live from Abuja. We'll take a short break now. More reports to come.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Thanks for staying with us. The deployment of the 5th generation network, popularly called 5G, holds great potential for the nation's economy and development. This opinion resonated at an investigative hearing on the state of 5G in Nigeria held by the Joint Senate Committee on Communications. Dayo Umushola reports.
Statistics from the Global System for Mobile Communications Association indicates that as of August 2020, no fewer than 38 countries had deployed 5G network, while others are at various stages of either conducting trial or already deployed in parts. For these countries, experts say 5G is capable of transforming their economy through fast wireless network. In Nigeria, opinions have been trailing the introduction of 5G network. It is on this note that the Joint Senate Committee on Communications, Science and Technology, ICT and Cybercrimes as well as primary health care and communicable diseases, held this investigative public hearing on the status of 5G network in Nigeria.
We only approve of this technology if the security and safety of our citizens are guaranteed. We are not going to be motivated by making money out of it. If there is any implication of other radiation, as many people allege, without knowledge, then I should be the #1 victim. As the global practice, in that process of doing the trial, we remain very objective.
It is recommended that the operators should always conduct EI before going to the site, before deployment.
Satellites can play a key role in 5G, particularly for developing countries like ours. It will also foster the rollout of 5G in unserved and underserved areas.
Based on the various submissions, experts believe that Nigeria cannot claim to be part of the global society while rejecting advanced technology the world is embracing. From the National Assembly, Dayo Gunshola, NTA News.
Meanwhile, stakeholders have called for a comprehensive national instrument on data, privacy protection and national legislation to drive the digital economy in Nigeria. This is against the background of scattered pieces of legislations with limitations to protect data and privacy in Nigeria. Vera Chumba reports.
The webinar is to interrogate existing applicable laws and identify loopholes that are detrimental to Nigeria's digital economic agenda. Minister of Communications and Digital Economy said Nigeria has a strong regulatory framework. He challenged the stakeholders on the effective implementation, monitoring and enforcement to drive the digital economy.
You will come up with some recommendations that will guide the federal government to either come up with a legislation or policy or subsidiary legislation.
Speakers and discussants profiled divergent views on cybersecurity challenges. Former Director General, ECOWAS Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa, Abdullahi Shehu, called for research on new technologies with multi-sectoral legal and regulatory framework in place. A lead consultant, Bamidele Ayimebo, who reviewed Nigeria's national blockchain policy and strategy, said it is silent on international trade. Director General of the Institute asked the National Assembly to expedite action on the bill before it.
Look at our scattered pieces of instruments that we as the Institute, as the Apex Legal Institute, we are currently reviewing them to identify gaps in them with a view to proposing a draft legal instrument, for consideration by federal government on digital economy.
President Muhammad Buhari recently launched a national cybersecurity policy and strategy with emphasis on economic growth and mitigation of crime. In Abuja, Vera Chumba, NTA News.
Religious leaders in the country have been urged to always preach messages of love for one another, peaceful coexistence and patriotism to their congregation as a way of dousing increased ethno-religious tension currently experienced in the country. Kenneth Nani has details of this report.
Nigeria, like some other countries of the world, is being confronted with insurgency, banditry and other forms of insecurity. As if these are not enough, ethno-religious tension is being heightened in parts of the country, with others calling for disintegration. To stem the situation and redirect citizens' attention to issues of unity, integration, religious tolerance and love for one another, the organizers of this gathering believe that religious leaders are a strong voice in achieving this.
Religious leaders have a certain power which government does not have. Their adherents, whether they are Muslims or Christians, believe that religious leaders are representatives of God on earth. And they speak to their followers through the various holy books. Now, given that kind of platform, we think that in the face of the various crises that Nigeria is facing today, that religious leaders have a critical role to play.
This is intended to make participants effective ambassadors in the campaign to bring lasting peace to our great country.
The forum also challenges religious leaders on moral rebirth, as well as caution their members from disseminating unverified messages from the social media that are capable of disrupting the public peace.
My major concern is the youths. How do we capture them? How do we get them to understand that, no, they need to love one another? We're supposed to showcase all these things to make sure that the society becomes a better place.
It is our hope that at the end of this process, religious leaders and their followers will be equipped with the skills that will enable them critically analyze information and news media content.
The religious leaders, however, appealed to the elite and public office holders to also play positive roles in promoting peace and harmonious coexistence amongst their supporters for nation building. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
Concludes Panorama this afternoon. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, be a brother's keeper. Report any suspicious movement to the appropriate authorities. Good afternoon.
From the largest television network in Africa, the NTA, we bring to you Weekend File, where we seek the views of experts, government functionaries, movers of the economy, and the ordinary Nigerian on developmental challenges confronting the nation in an era of diversification, the process that is meant to reinvigorate all aspects of our national life in education, science, technology, and innovation, agriculture, health, and other aspects of societal development. The Weekend File crew has the onerous task of articulating all the issues, ensuring that all perspectives are brought to the table. On the show, all things matter and opinions of every class count. Weekend File shows every Saturday at 9 p.m. on the NTA network service. It is your weekend companion and a destination for news, views, and analysis. It is unmissable.
NTA News. When the news breaks, we mend it and present it without blemish. NTA News, authentic and authoritative.
You can follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. Or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Sheer adventurism is driving me to go deep into the Onyama mines. It is the biggest coal mine in the whole of South. Well, the coronation of the new Oni is a watershed in the history of the Yoruba land generally, and Ife in particular. Now, because they have a leader now, that will... Simply put, Gura is a beautiful countryside with awesome landscapes. If something differently will be done to the Nigerian textile industry, that our youth will be employed. Many people that attend the church here can tell you, service in Holy Rosa is in we are taking a canoe tour of the communities on the bank of River Niger in Getso. Away in Nasarawa State is wealthy. It is an imperishable wealth that emanates from the resources of the earth. It is an endowment that guarantees their sustained livelihood for as long as anybody could remember. In the times past, and not too far past actually, testimonies about that whoever wants to dispose of anything of value around that area, Away is the obvious destination for a ready market. But it is a modest township with rich history and culture. In fact, when the political story of President Nasarawa State will be told, it will be on record that Away ceded a number of his large towns and villages to new local government areas that emerged out of it. It has been a local government area since the local government reform of 1976 and has been strategic throughout colonial period as well. I was in a way out of sheer journalistic pool. One thing, they were the destination of choice for the Kano pilgrim who then was taking leave of the Kano royal stool. What is it about Away that makes it so? There was a story too, that Away was going through a transition occasioned precisely by the very resources that made them wealthy and famous. When I arrived at the town, it was my luck that there was a royal function. The court musicians were up to it, and the palace reverberates with their sounds. We saw the emir come out in royal splendor and making it to the throne room to receive his visitors. Away is an old emirate with succession history going back to the period of the Fulani Jihads. A word about the Emir of Away. He is perhaps the youngest Emir in the whole of the Nigerian emirate system. And from our interactive, it seems like that translates into vigor of will, dynamism, and abiding vision to see Away develop into a more prosperous and peaceful nation.
Rival will help us to tell the world that we have something Away that you need to come and see for yourself. At least for tourism, and you want to see so many things in Away as you have seen. That's why I'm extremely happy to receive you, so that you complement the effort we have been making to tell people that we have natural things in Away. Please come and see. You will benefit from it.
Look from the point of view that it is a local government. Away shared boundaries with the states of Benue, Taraba, and Plateau. Not every local government area in Nigeria is that strategic. That perhaps influences the ethnic and cultural diversity that define the entire area. This is the gateway to the old Away. There is, of course, the new Away. The story about this place is that it's the kind of story that you think is novel, but believe me, it is not. Like, in this old town, you can't build a well, you can't build a borehole, because you may end up not using it. Don't tell me how they get their water, but that is the surprising thing about them. And secondly, you can't build a house and think it will last for 3 years. It won't. The story of Away is always unique. It's always strategic. And you know what? It is not for bad. It is for good. Old Away is a paradox. It has been so all its years. This is a town that on its entire stretches are inexhaustible reserves of salt. For years, the people have been exploiting it at artisanal level, and while it sustains them, it also puts trial on their path. You may do well to have a clear view of this countryside of Awe. It is swampy and rocky, a floodplain of pleasant vista. To the person outside, it is a beautiful landscape. To the people of the old Awe town, it is wealth unlimited. You know what? In this place, the complete cycle of the town, 360 degrees of it, is salt. In fact, there is nowhere you will go around the old Awe that you do not find salt on the soil. The official told me here that there are over 3,000 plots, as you have plots of land, but this is 5 feet by 5 feet of land of salt, which mathematically means the salt plots are owned. And this is the quantity by which the people can harness the salt. And the salt, they told me again, is the fact that this thing is naturally occurring. Like in the dry season, you just have to see it on top. Well, this is one of the plots of the land. The water may look dirty. I just want to test it. Let me see how it is. Believe me, it is salty. Well, that is as serious as it is. So, welcome to the Salt City. Welcome to Awe.
This is old Awe town, the ancient Awe. And if you look at the ancient Awe, it's surrounded by a swampy, as you look at this, it's swampy and it's salty. Anything you touch here is salty. As you touch the water, it's salty. Had it been you are here during the hot season, you would have seen wonders for yourself, because you will see the crystal of the salt. You will even touch it, you will even taste it, and you find it like that.
For over 2 centuries, the people of Awe made life out of salt. They have perfected a technology to process it. There was in fact a time when the whole of northern Nigeria gets its salt from Awe.
Assessment was done during the colonial masters when they came here, and they found out, in fact, about 30 to 60 tons are produced just within the dry season for market.
Outside the state.
Outside the state. We have 2 routes. You know, that time there was no vehicles, so people used to carry it on their head. Some used donkeys to convey all these products. Awe served the northern Nigeria with salt.
As at today, there is no data of the exact deposit of the salt in Awe. One thing is sure though, the reserve is there to guarantee continuous livelihood for the people, as it has in fact done in the past. Salt making or salt processing is the art of the women. In Awe, more than 500 women are actively engaged into it. And in fact, it is like a cultural identity for the people. Every household is involved. The whole process begins in the dry season. It is the period when households store off enough quantity of sand deposit that retain the salt. Every household has a warehouse of salt that stored up that salty sand, a readiness for the rainy season. It is amazing what picture this structure gives you. On first sight, I mistake it for a medicine man hut myself. How far from the truth I was though. This is actually a factory, a salt-making factory, and it can serve as the symbol of old Awe town. It is in every household. On the processing technology again, it is simple and effective, and it has served them for centuries. Now I talk of the local method. Let me tell you, this local method is not easy. It's laborious. But the people have perfected it over time, and it is paying for them. You see, this is what the simple technology, the simple process. When the people gather the sand from outside in the plots that we have spoken about earlier, then they will come and deposit it, and it will be there for up to 6 months. During the rainy season, when there is no water, they will just fetch the water and start to titrate it along this line. This is the processes of the titration. I'm not well versed in the art of chemistry to be able to tell you definitely how they do it. But I was a witness to what is happening, and it's beautiful. At the end of the day, they have an end product. And you see, this is part of the end product. Let me test it. It is very, very salty. But this is just a stage of the process. It is a beautiful. Later they are taking it where they will fire it up, and eventually they get the salt. They tell us that in a day they can make a salt. So which means that in every day they can produce the salt. The process, although laborious, it doesn't take too much time. So there is a guarantee that on a daily basis they have stock of salt which they sell. That is the beautiful story of the women of Awe, making salt and finding livelihood at no cost from nature itself. Here is a picture of the ladies taking the salt sand to the processing machine. It is inundated by enough water and allowed to soak the water and drain in a container at the end of the chain. The accumulated water, dried out of the salt sand, is now taken to a boiler, where firewood fire heat it to a required temperature until the water dries up and leaves behind salt in perspective. The women of Awe recount how they have been enjoying decent life making salt. Mata Serki here says she has been into the business for over 20 years. She gets an average of 3,000 naira daily out of her salt. Market is always available, she says, and she pays no charges for collecting the salt and deposits. It has been the same story for Rabi Atu, who has been into the business for 45 years now. The same could equally be said for the over 500 women that find livelihood out of salt in Awe. Women support the men in a way to set up businesses or work in the farms. Quarrel is not uncommon though, when the men use the resources often to marry a new wife. But perhaps the major quarrel is the fact that all Awe is so salty, everything it touches is salt. For that, wells and boreholes do not do well here. Water is a major issue.
Even if you dig a hole, dig a well, the only thing you can get is salty water. If you dig a borehole, like here in the old dispensary, government made effort to provide water, but after drinking the borehole, the only thing they got was salt water. There was an effort by state government to bring water from, to tap water from Kekura, about 6 kilometers away from here, to bring water to this town. But the contractor started but stopped on the way. So the people living here, there are over 2,000 households here, but they are suffering. Actually, they are suffering of.
How do they get water? How do they get water?
The water they get, they used to go to Asuku.
And we are pleading with the governor to come to the aid of to rescue people at the Altan because of the issue of salt there. I know you might have seen so many boreholes that have been there for people to drink water, but the moment you provide the borehole, you find out it's salty, then we have no option than to, because the entire area is salty.
So obviously, how have the people been coping? All over 100 years, no water, no tap, no well, no anything.
No, we have you have seen stream around, and we have dam that people used to take water, and we have tank that provide water to people at the old town.
And that's buildings do not do well either in Awe. the salt content on their soil could not allow any building to last. Like I told you, if you plan on living your life in the old away town, then you must plan to build every year. Because if you don't, make sure you don't have a house. Now look at a picture of this house. It was built strong and plastered with cement. But over time, you can see the degradation that is going on, eroding. And you know eroding it? Salt. The salt content of the earth is not making the houses in this place to stand. And for people who are planning to, who are living here, they have to make it a duty, a point of responsibility to continually rebuild. Or else, they may end up not having a house. Or they may end up building collapsing on them and their family. A dangerous thing to do. There are not too much experiences of that, but it happens. On account of these peculiar issues, there is a strategic relocation from the old away to where is known as the new away. It is merely 4 kilometers away, but the land there is not as inhibitive as in old away. Most of the administrative offices of the local government area are in the new town. So is the Emir's Palace. So are businesses too. And so are state and federal operatives. People with the ability have also abandoned the old city and set up in new away. There are of course hundreds of households that continue to endure their life in the old away town. After all, it is the center of their life activities. On account of the immense potential away had in salt deposit, at a period in Nasarawa State, government set up a modern salt processing industry for the people. It works for some time, but a number of factors, human and natural, bring the factory down to its knees. Actually, because of the scope of salt deposit in away, the state government at one point decided to construct a small-scale industry for salt processing. Now this is it. It may look dilapidated, but at the time the intention was to bring as many people as are possible to the industrial making of salt, and that the people that are involved may get small income out of it. But obviously, a lot of things happened, and ultimately, nature did the rest. The place has been brought down by a wind some 2 years ago, and work at the place has stopped. But definitely, the purpose was noble. The intention was good. The decision was to make industrialized salt or make processing of salt more so that people can produce more and the workers who are involved will get more. But what really happened? Well, Oga is actually telling me that some factors really played key role in what happened to this industry. First of all, the place needs power. And the power the people are most acquainted with was firewood or is firewood, whatever the case is. And this place needs much more capacity for power, which they cannot afford. So because maybe there is no support, the industry could not continue. Secondly, the technology that is involved, simple as it is, many people do not understand its own working. So it could not go. Then when there is low capacity utilization, because of these two factors, eventually I told you nature did the rest. It brought the place down. But generally, the people need industry like this because the deposits are there in industrial quantity. And people who are coming to invest here may make up their money and the people here may get some work to do. And I think that is the real challenge and what the people of Away wanted the world to understand and know. Many of the major machines for this factory have not been affected by the building collapse. They are kept safe in the factory's office building. On account of the major role salt making is playing on the lives of the people of Old Away, incidences of deforestation is not uncommon. Salt making thrives on intense fire. This fire is acquired through firewood. So it is that the whole town is a picture of wood piles for use in the local salt processing industry. The forest of Away is a witness to continuous depletion on account of the salt of the environment. Generally, however, Away is blessed with rich and extensive vegetation that has influence on the atmosphere of the town. It is never too hot here in Away. Thanks also to its rich water body. Old Away has a perennial river that traverses its southern flank. It is a beautiful water system that allows for robust social and economic activities on the riverside. I am particularly taken by this idyllic picture of the riverside on this day. So cows could swim. is a live activity all day long, where the river crosses in a way is a gateway to several communities and to Benue State. They all look up to Awe for their major life activities. The place is actually rich in livestock too. The river serves them as a water point and as a transit point to grass on the other side. The landscape here is generally beautiful and appealing, an extensive rocky environment where river flow and salt grow. It happened that Awe has one other water system not far from where we are, but both could not serve their water needs. This river is salty too. The other has sticker of contamination attached to it. But they have one more water body that is different. It is a warm water spring, and it has value in medicine. Awe is a surprise package, by all means. Probably I can spend the whole day here and still tell you something new that you don't know. I'm at a spring here. It's a warm water spring. And in fact, short of being hot, it is seriously warm. In fact, like somebody alluded here,